সুপ্রিয় দর্শক সবাইকে স্বাগত জানাচ্ছি টিভিএন24 আয়োজিত নিয়মিত অনুষ্ঠান টিভিএন অ্যানালিসিস। আমি হাবিব রহমান আছি আপনাদের সাথে। আশা করি যারা বাসায় বসে দেখছেন সরাসরি, ফেসবুক লাইভে দেখছেন, যারা পরবর্তীতে ইউটিউব সোশ্যাল মিডিয়াতে দেখবেন, আশা করি সবাই ভালো আছেন। আজকে বেশ কয়েকটি বিষয় নিয়ে আপনাদের সাথে আমরা বিষয়গুলি তুলে ধরবো এক এক করে এবং এই প্রতিটি বিষয় ভেঙে আপনাদের সামনে উপস্থাপন করব। অনেকে রিফান্ড ট্যাক্স ফাইল করেছেন, রিফান্ড পেতে দেরি হচ্ছে। ওয়াই ইজ দিস হ্যাপেনিং, হোয়াট ইজ দিস ডিলে, এটি আলোচনায় থাকবে। আপনি ভালো পরিমাণ অর্থ পেয়েছেন ট্যাক্স রিফান্ডের মাধ্যমে, আপনি কি করতে পারেন সে ব্যাপারে একটি উপদেশ থাকবে। আপনি ট্যাক্স ফাইল করেছেন কিন্তু আশানুরূপভাবে ট্যাক্স রিটার্ন পাননি, হোয়াট হ্যাপেন, ওয়াই ডিড নট গেট দ্য গুড রিটার্ন, উইল টক অ্যাবাউট দিস, হোয়াট ক্যান ইউ ডু, আপনি কী করতে পারেন। এবং আপনি ট্যাক্স ফাইল করেননি এখনও, অনেকে আছেন, কারণ আপনি চিন্তা করছেন আপনি একটি রিয়েল এস্টেট পারচেস করবেন, কিন্তু তাহলে আপনি কি করতে পারেন। অথবা এখনও ট্যাক্স ফাইল করেননি বাট ইউর থিঙ্কিং অফ রিফাইন্যান্সিং ইউর হাউস, দিস ইজ এ গুড থিং, হোয়াট শুড বি ইউর প্ল্যান, এটি আলোচনায় থাকবে। স্টক মার্কেটে অর্থ হারিয়েছেন, এখন আপনি কি করতে পারেন এটি ব্যাপারে পরামর্শ থাকবে। অনেক নিউ ইয়র্কার $150 থেকে $400 পর্যন্ত, $150 to $400 পাবে নিউ ইয়র্ক স্টেটে। তারা কারা, কি করতে হবে, কোয়ালিফিকেশনটি কী, সেটি আমরা চেষ্টা করব। ওয়েন, হাউ অ্যান্ড হু সব কিছু থাকবে, হোয়াট কোয়ালিফাইজ বেসিকলি। আরেকটি হচ্ছে আপনি আনডকুমেন্টেড, ভয় পাচ্ছেন ট্যাক্স ফাইল করার জন্যে, কারণ আইসের রিস্ক আছে। সো আপনি কি করতে পারেন এই ব্যাপারে পরামর্শ থাকবে। what should be your plan basically. SBA hardship আপডেট থাকবে, আর লেট ফাইলিংয়ের ব্যাপারে উপদেশ থাকবে। সব কিছু নিয়ে আজকে আলোচনা করার জন্য I have Michael Mutazudi in our studio, and Michael, again, thanks for coming back.
Of course.
It's always fun to have a good constructive show. A lot of people actually like it. A lot of people say, hey, you guys finished too early. Unfortunately, time is very limited. so we'll try. Let's start with overall how the tax season is going. What's your experience, and if there are any complaints from the people, what are the complaints, and how you're resolving those things?
So, look, the two things I have been seeing, especially from our community, is the adjustments to a couple tax returns, where it's either the home care credit, it's been reduced. Basically what's going to happen is the earned income credit, it's really where your meat and potatoes of the tax refund is from, that has been reduced, but we're able to get it back. It's because of a miscalculation by the IRS automatic calculators. Okay, it's an easy fix. Anybody that has that issue, please call our office.
So who are the people who fall into this category?
Anyone's getting a home care deduction, right? Sometimes the automatic calculators, they take away the earned income credit, right? So it's like, could be a couple $1,000s. So you think you're getting, say, $10,000, but you only got $7,000, right? It's because they took the automatic calculators from the IRS, took that away.
So you're telling me that a lot of people who are doing the home care got the refund, but not as expected.
Not as expected.
Or maybe can it be like they don't even know that they got, really...
Or if I told you you were getting $10,000, you got $7,000, what would you do? You would call me and say why?
Well, yeah, that's true.
Right?
Right.
Those are the people you're going to see the biggest impacts from, but it's still an easy fix. It's not something to be worried about. We have a couple cases this year, not as much as I expected, but it's still happening with the IRS calculators.
So the odds are that it can happen to anybody.
It can happen to anybody. You just need to know how to deal with the IRS to get that back, because you guys are entitled to it, and don't think, oh, something's wrong. Because what they do is the IRS writes a letter, says you did it incorrectly, but it's not true. They did
so it's a glitch in the system.
It's a glitch in the system. It's been happening the last couple of years.
Okay, so people who are doing home care and they were told you're going to get $10,000, but you got $7,000. These are the people who fall into this category. Will there be people who don't know that they were told $8,000 and really $8,000, but they are missing out?
I mean, is it possible? Look, we only have 3 cases this year, which is really low. So that's good news.
Out of 1 million?
Basically, right? But that's really good news.
Okay.
The years before was higher, but I have one case, it's $300 difference.
Only?
That's it.
Okay, so it's hit or miss?
It's a hit or miss. It could be either way.
Okay, so
that's what we're seeing. And then also with the Uber and Lyft settlements, the IRS has been trying to challenge them and calling it that should be regular income, which is not. So we had to, put packages together for two people.
Can you expand on this?
So basically, you got a settlement, right? It's not like you went to work. Right? This was from way back in the day. IRS is just challenging it to show them proof that it's a settlement. Right? So we had to put basically like a 25-page package together.
Right.
And it's been working out, but it's an annoyance this year.
So who has the burden of the proof? Is the driver or it's someone else?
Yeah, it's taxpayer.
Taxpayer.
Yeah, but we have all the proof. I mean, it's all over.
But how would somebody know that he got cheated out, or he needs to?
IRS will not deliver the refund. They'll say, "Hey, we believe this should be self-employment when it should not be, so we just have to show it."
Okay, so people who are Uber driver, Lyft driver, they are listening.
Yes, if you haven't got your refund and you get something like a package in the mail, it's about 5 pages thick, 6 pages thick, and it's saying something about self-employment.
Right.
That's most likely what it's about.
So
again, it can be fixed. Nothing to worry about.
Okay.
It's just a delay.
So যারা আপনারা দেখছেন আপনি উবার অথবা লিফট করেন এবং আপনি বড়সড় একটি লেটার পেয়ে গেছেন, আপনি বুঝতে পারছেন না কি ওখানে অনেক কিছুর মধ্যে একটি সেলফ এমপ্লয়মেন্ট ব্যাপার লেখা আছে, অনেক ব্যাখ্যার ব্যাপার আছে। ইফ ইউ হ্যাভ সামথিং দিস, ইট ইজ ইজি ফিক্স, ইউ জাস্ট হ্যাভ টু সি অ্যান এক্সপার্ট tax CPA accountant, good one. not the guy at the corner. I'm joking, but it's not a joke. It's a serious matter.
Look, okay? I had so many calls to the IRS going over this and how we're resolving them. So
right. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Some people are complaining that his or her tax file is delayed. What are the reasons and what's causing it?
Well, that's what I'm saying. These are some of the common reasons.
The problems,
right?
Issues, yes.
Common reasons, right? But I mean, the delay is really, we all read the news, we all know what's going on.
Yeah.
That's the delays.
So basically, workforce cut off.
Workforce is causing some of the delays, right?
System glitches.
They're also trying to use AI to kind of basically do it for you, but that's like a 10-year project.
Right.
It's a workforce issue.
Yeah. So it's not. It's a system-wide issue.
It is. Yeah. So when we call the IRS, right? We have the direct practitioner hotline, right? When we call them, it used to be last year we get in like 5, 10, 15 minutes, right? Now you got to call 25 times just to get in the queue.
I'm sorry. I want you to repeat this. So last year, when you were calling 2-3 times and 10-20 minutes,
right? It would take me 10-15 minutes to talk to somebody. This year, we can't even get into the line.
You can't even get into the
get through the line. That's how much workforce has been cut.
Yeah. So
we're feeling the burden.
And usually it's taking how long?
No, I'm saying it takes us 25 calls just to get into the queue.
Okay, so yeah. And then the 10-15 minutes, whatever.
No, that's like an hour after that.
An hour after that. So you get to, hear the free music.
No, it's just a queue. We get called back.
So honestly, if you have an issue, আপনার যদি issue থাকে with IRS, আপনাকে call করতে হয়. According to Michael, last year, 3 calls, 4 calls, you get through 10-15 minutes, you're done. আপনি কথা শুনে done. This year, 20 থেকে 25 বার কল করতে হচ্ছে, তারপরে they get into queue. So please, if you expect delays, you can do it by yourself or you can have somebody else do it for you. It's up to you, but expect delays if you have delays. It's a system problem.
It is a system problem.
Okay, let's move on to a good topic. Many of us file tax and got good refund, really good refund. Which is good for them, good for their family. You really want people to get good refunds.
Of course I do.
You always do. But people, sometimes, and I'm bringing this up, it's because you are a financial advisor, not just an accountant or CPA. So good advice comes from a good finance background, solid background. So from that perspective, if somebody got good return and it's hard to make that much money from somewhere else and really be able to hold on to that money. What would be your advice to those families or individuals who receive that good amount so that they don't just burn it?
Yeah, so like back in the day, right, people used to go on vacation, do a lot of stuff, but they have no savings. So my suggestion for everybody, including my own clients, right, we usually try to put in an account that we really don't touch.
Right.
Maybe it's for saving for a down payment for a house.
Yeah.
If you're getting, especially with the home care, if you're getting like almost $20,000, after 5 years, you got $100,000 sitting in that account. Right? But you want to be doing something with that money, not just wasting it. Right? So it's all about, look, everybody's different, every family's different, everyone has different goals. You got to sit down with the correct person, the right person that's going to tell you, hey, listen, we should go this direction.
Okay, যারা দেখছেন অনেকেই back in the old days, tax return means a vacation. I remember that.
There you go.
Miami, Disney World. That was the norm.
That was what people used to do.
Yeah, that's no, I remember that, right?
But you gotta also realize something. When you get such a big refund, right? Something isn't right, right? What does that mean? It means you've been basically letting the government say for you, right? So that means either my W-2 holdings are too high.
Yeah.
Something else is going on,
Yeah.
right? So you're trying to get this. You don't want all the money at the end of the year, waiting until April something to get the money, right? You want to be able to have it in your pocket, right?
Yeah.
So that's what a lot of misconception is. Everyone thinks, oh, we got this big refund. No, it's because you let the government save for you.
Yeah.
And guess what?
So,
you got no interest for it. So you got zero return on it.
You don't get the interest?
Why would? No.
No, zero interest. A long time ago. The reason I'm asking because I'm also going through my own experience.
Mm-hmm.
When I was working at my at my work, one of the guy who was a mentor. I mean, he helped me a lot. He said, listen, do one thing. On your W-4 form, put 0.
It's always been the old school.
And you remember what?
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, what happened? So he said, they take out extra money from your taxes, but at the end of the year, you really get a good hefty check. And I did that, and it did help. And believe me or not, I mean, not being savvy economically at that time, right? That really did help me to get my own house, first house. I didn't have to go nowhere. I didn't have to do anything. I had enough to put the down payment, closing costs, and everything. All I had to do is self-discipline.
Now, what if I told you?
Yes, and that's what I want to hear.
What if I told you, hey, listen, we know you're going to get, let's just say we're going to get $10,000.
Right.
Well, we're going to get $12,000, easy math, right? And I said every month just get a bigger paycheck, but put $1,000 in a money market. So now I'm getting interest upon interest for the entire year.
Explain money market, because this is very important for a lot of people, and many of us will hear it for the first time.
Mm-hmm. So money market is basically almost like a high yield savings, right? So it is FDIC insured, so there's no
Let's
real
make
difference.
believe. Explain that, and then I'm going to bring an example.
Right. So basically, look, it's basically almost guaranteed nothing's going to happen. Okay.
Right.
Unless
How do you get a money market account?
So you can open up, Schwab, Fidelity, Vanguard. They all have them.
Not a good-looking Chinese girl that texts you on the phone.
No.
That invests.
No.
And
I don't know who you're getting text from.
Okay.
And now I know you're getting picture messages too.
All my secrets are out now.
There you go.
But you know what I mean.
Well, the point I'm making is, hey, listen, the government's taking your money for an entire 12 months, right?
Right.
Actually, more, right? And they're going to be making money with it.
I think we should do a how to do money market in our next episode.
It's a good tool, and a lot of people aren't, unfortunately, missing out on it.
Correct. So, আপনারা যারা দেখছেন একটি কথা মনে রাখবেন, you can take your money and put it in savings. It doesn't produce much nowadays.
Yes.
Right? Less than 4%, maybe less in some cases. A lot less. I'm just going through a number. এই অর্থটি যদি আপনি মানি মার্কেটে ফেলে রাখেন, what's the return one can expect? Lump sum.
5%, right?
5%.
Yeah.
So make believe আপনি মানি মার্কেটে $20,000 দিয়ে দিয়েছেন. $20,000. What can you expect at the end of the day?
There you go. Right? There's a 5% on 20,000. I mean, it's real money.
Real money.
And here's the thing: you're not. So then now you just increase your refund by $1,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, your refund increases by $1,000.
Because that $1,000 actually been in your pocket.
Right.
Right.
So আমি জানি অনেকে প্রথমবারের মতো শুনছেন, but we will go through this and we will actually walk you through how to do this.
I think there's a lot of good strategies that
yes
nobody talks about, and that we should be talking about, and just doing a whole show just on that.
Right. I think we should. It's going to really educate people, and at the end of the day, they're going to save some money, and it's going to help a lot.
Right.
So we will do that. Now, this is when you get a good refund, tax refund. What if you did not get a good refund that you were expecting? What are the things that you would advise those people to go over? I know, one of the things, easy things, contact me. That's one thing.
Right.
But generally, your advice would be what they should look for. If I was expecting a good return, let's say a 10 grand, just for a number.
Well, look,
but I got 5.
Right, but remember what I said before is, hey, listen, that means the money's already been in your pocket all year round.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're not actually missing out. Pay me now or pay me later, right?
Yeah. So but I need to figure out that I did not receive as I expected.
Right, but your expectations need to be adjusted because it's actually been in your pocket. It means your paychecks have been larger than normal.
Okay, so what you're saying is this: if you're taking more home as opposed to paying proper taxes, you may end up getting smaller refund. But what I'm saying is, let's make believe that you did everything by the book and everything looks fine. I mean,
then something's wrong with the tax.
Okay. What would be that person looking into, saying, hey, something's not right here?
Look, I see it a lot. I see it a lot from people who bring other people's returns in, right? They're supposed to be head of household, okay? But the tax preparer puts single. That's a nice red flag right there.
Okay.
Right? Because that means your standard deduction should be this big. But the tax preparer is making it this big.
Correct.
Okay? If you have a child who's, say, disabled, right? They need to be checking it because that child still gets earned income credit.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff that people don't ask. I ask all my clients, when we conversations,
right,
like we're having now.
You just brought in a good point. You ask a lot of questions to your clients.
I do.
To make sure to maximize the refunds, right? And whatever you can put in there, but legally, right? The other spectrum of this is some people will. There's a lot sitting around the corner, and they will say, tell me what you have, and then, hey, did you know if you saw a piece of paper on the floor today, you get to put in on it your tax? I know, I get you know what I mean.
Look.
So, that's the other extreme.
A lot of the shops people go to, right, it's in and out.
In and out, right, correct.
Right?
No,
but they don't ask the questions, they say they don't have time. They just get them in and get them out. Obviously my office is much different, but that's the problem with the guys in the shops, is you like the
correct
corner, right?
I mean, yeah,
because they don't get to know the clients, right? They only care about.
I want your $200. Yeah.
Get in, get out.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the thing. So this is how people miss out.
Okay. So আপনারা যারা দেখছেন অনুষ্ঠানটি, make sure you are being asked. আপনাকে আপনার অ্যাকাউন্টেন্ট রাইট কোয়েশ্চেন জিজ্ঞেস করেছেন, সব কয়টি প্রশ্ন আপনি উত্তর দিয়েছেন, স্যাটিসফাইড. দিস ইজ হাউ ইউ ম্যাক্সিমাইজ ইউর রিটার্ন. দেয়ার আর পিপল, আর অনেকে আছেন যে বলবেন, ভাই আপনি এইটা বসিয়ে দিন, ওটি বসিয়ে দিন, আপনার বাসায় কি একটা ইউ হ্যাভ এ ক্যাট, ইউ হ্যাভ এ ডগ, you're laughing, it is true.
But that's a whole different type of shop.
Right.
Most of the people, I do like 400 or 500 amendments a year just because the tax preparers don't ask the right questions.
Correct. So, আমি যেটি বলছি, you got to be careful. আপনাদেরকে careful হতে হবে. We all want maximized return, but on the safe side.
Correct.
Not go over the legal boundary.
Right, but a lot of people leave money on the table because their questions are not answered and they're not asked
so
that question.
That's the other part. If you don't ask the right question, they will leave a lot of money in the U.S. Treasury, meaning Uncle Sam has it, you don't have it.
That's correct.
And this is yours. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Now, many people who haven't filed taxes, some already filed, let's say, but they're planning to buy a real estate, a property this year, right? Let's start with the ones who haven't filed. What would you tell them? What would be your advice and why?
I mean, let's hope they filed an extension, right, to give you time to file. So Right, so you're not getting failure to file penalty, but let's say you're trying to buy a house in general, right, and I haven't filed my taxes, either I'm on extension or I'm not.
Correct.
Right? It does give you the opportunity to, depending on the house size, right, go up and down based on payment. So you're able to actually change your tax return to what makes the best mortgage sense, right?
Right. So you get to play with that.
You get to play with that.
This is the people who haven't filed. So you're telling them to take extension.
So instead of writing off the miles, we're going to use depreciation because it's an add back for mortgages, right?
Right.
It gives us that opportunity to basically move the tax bill up and down based on what we need to qualify for that loan.
Yeah. I was reading the new budget proposal. It passed the Judiciary Committee, so it's going to pass through House. It's going to go to Senate. It's going to pass there because the Republicans have the majority. It's 116 pages. I was reading because I just wanted to. I had a show 7 o'clock today, The Views, where I talked about immigration's the impact, what's in there, what's not there, what people should know. One thing I forgot to tell them, and I found this very funny. 2025, if you have an EV, right? Next year when you're filing taxes, you have to pay $250 just for having an EV. And if you have a hybrid, it's $150. If you have a gas car, $0. Does it make sense to you?
No, but it's also because of the weight of the vehicle and that it's actually destroying the roads.
How's that?
An EV weighs a lot more than a normal car.
I was trying to make sense out of it.
That's the reason.
So EV
weighs a ton compared a lot.
You're not talking about the Cybertruck. You're talking about regular.
I'm talking about a Tesla Model Y versus a Toyota Highlander.
Model S, Model Y.
Well, I'm saying to you, an EV because of the battery.
Right. Oh, that wears
so
down.
much more, so it weighs on the roads. So it actually beats up the roads more.
Okay, now it's making sense.
The more EVs on the road, the more time roads.
So I was reading that, and when I saw that, it's like, what? $250 if you have a full electric car.
New York State was going to come up with their own thing.
Yeah, this is now federal.
Right, but New York State was going to come up with it saying, hey, listen, how are we going to charge these guys extra, right, for the EVs?
They're causing,
and they were going to pay like an extra $100 for registration or something like that.
Yeah, so when you go each year to DMV and then do the registrations and whatnot, $250 if you have full EV, $150 if you have hybrid, which I do, $150. And then if you have gas car, it's $0.
But that's the reason.
That's the reason. Okay. Let's move on to our program. I just wanted people to know যাদের EV আছে আগামী বছর থেকে $250 আপনাকে দিতে হবে at DMV. That's besides the registrations and whatnot.
You thought the big gas companies had something to do with it.
Yeah, of course.
I know, but that's not the reason.
They're not going to let it go. You know, they're not going to let it go. এবং আপনি যদি হাইব্রিড গাড়ি থাকে $150 or $150, that's going to go to DMV. More on this later on maybe. Okay. All right, so this is the people who did not file, right? And thinking of buying a home. And if you already have filed.
So look, if you already filed and trying to get a mortgage and trying to do an amendment, it's a nightmare, okay? They hate to see it. Now, if you're adding more income, like, oh, I forgot a 1099 or something like that, that could still be done.
That
doesn't look bad. I'm increasing my tax, so I'm not decreasing and saying, okay, I'm taking all these expenses off.
So those people...
You can add revenue on. You cannot be taking off expenses because, oh, oops, I want to buy a house.
Right.
Okay? That's never going to fly.
Not only that, if you start putting $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 deposit and picking up from your statement.
Right, but I'm saying to you, say I filed my taxes and this is how the underwriters look, legitimately like, oh, I forgot I got 1099 from Lyft also, right?
Yeah, which
that makes sense. Okay, fine, I can add it on and they'll take that income. But you can't be saying, okay, let me take that expense out, no. It's got to be just the income can go up.
Okay. People who are thinking of refinancing, again, twofold. One who did not file and one who did file. Now, the one did not file taxes yet and thinking of
the same thing
refinancing,
before, right?
They have another question. Refinance people have another question. Will the interest rate come down within next couple of months or?
We just don't know.
We just don't know. Okay.
It's that simple.
Okay, so if you're refinancing, what are the things?
If you have a 9% interest rate, fine, it doesn't matter for you. Either way, you can be saving a lot of money.
Right. You know, a lot of first 5 years for a first-time home buyers is a golden opportunity to pay good amount of principal, right?
Look, at the end of the day, most people don't just refinance once, twice, like kids go to college, things you want to do a renovation on your house, whatever you want to do. Most of the time, a couple times you're refinancing this house.
Yeah. So I want you to stay on this one. You know, Bangladeshi community is very young in this country. I mean, generally speaking, I would say 85%. Very young. Very young in terms of coming to this country and getting to know the system.
Right.
So from your experience, you know, how normal it is to refinance a house multiple times and what are the reasons that people do and how it benefits them?
So look, I'll take you from my own personal experience.
Of course.
Okay? Even my parents, right? They've refinanced their houses so many times I didn't want to talk about it, okay? But look, life changes. There are reasons you need money. And look, when you refinance a house to take money out, you're never going to be able to get the rate is so much lower than going to the bank for a personal loan.
Right.
There's so many great opportunities with real estate because it's a secured asset, right?
Yeah.
You don't pay, you take the house. It's that simple, right? That's why people refinance. Most people refinance to get the cash out, not so much, oh, I'm saving so much money on the rate, right? Because we did, for so many years, we saw low rates, like what were you going to make?
0.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there's one thing I realize the screen does not realize is, when you do a refinance, you don't pay money out of your pocket again, okay? The closing cost is added onto the loan. So it's not like you go to closing and say, okay, you need $30,000 in cash. There is no cash out of pocket anymore. It's added to the loan balance. So say the loan's $400,000. Say the closing cost is $15,000. Your new loan is $415,000.
Okay. I want you to, that I knew, but it was not here when I'm thinking about today's shows and programs, right? A lot of people, actually recently I spoke with few, and they're like, oh, I'm saving up the down payment for my refinancing. Explain that once again in a very simple language. Treat me as a 7-year-old child.
So a 7-year-old. Look, when you go to do a refinance, right? There's no money out of pocket, nothing coming from your bank account, nothing coming from anywhere. They basically increase the loan balance with the closing costs.
Yeah.
So say my loan today is $400,000. My closing cost is $15,000. My new loan balance is going to be $415,000.
Yeah.
Right, 400 plus 15.
And whatever the interest rate is.
Right. But my monthly payments can be much lower than what I have now.
I want you to emphasize on this one. So let's
that's the purpose of
let's once again. So your loan right now, let's make believe, is $400,000. It used to be $600,000. So you paid off. Right now you owe them $400,000. And when you bought the house, let's make believe it was 5%, right? And right now it's 6%. Let's say it went up, not down. When you refinance, number one, you don't have to pay out of your pocket for closing cost, as you said.
Right, but you wouldn't. But that wouldn't work. You would have to bought the house at 6% and refinance.
I'm going there. I'm going there. I'm just using the current situation. But let's go to your example.
Because that's the reason.
Because a lot of people actually bought it at 9.
You guys cannot do a refinance unless there's what they call a tangible benefit.
Right. What's my benefit?
Correct. Unless there's a tangible benefit, that's illegal to refinance. The banks won't do it.
Yeah.
That's part of the
unless you're doing for some other purpose, your kids going to college.
No, if you're taking money out, they don't care because that's your benefit, right?
Right.
You gotta have something you're getting at. Right. But let's go back to the 400 example. Let's say my interest rate is 8%, right?
Yeah. Right.
Let's just say the mortgage payment's $5,000, right? Yeah. When I take my new loan out, right? So now it's $415,000, like the closing cost, right? But my payment's now $4,000, right? So I just saved $1,000. Yes, my loan increased by a little bit, but my monthly payment went down by $1,000,
which is lowered by burden.
But there's a reason for that. There's another reason to that. Aside from the interest rate going down, you're stretching out the loan back to
30 years.
So if it's right now, if you had a 30-year loan, this is 5 years from now, right? You have 25 years left on the mortgage. I'm stretching it back out to 30.
Yeah.
So it's automatically going to lower the payment amount.
Do you get the benefit of paying additional principal when you are actually making payments, monthly payments? Do you get that still with the second?
Well, you still would get it, but it's like no point with no prepayment penalties. Like do it whenever you want.
Because the reason you actually wanted to lower, now you're going higher. I understand that. So, one, refinancing when the interest comes down, meaning it has to help you.
It has to lower your payments, or you're taking money out.
No money out of pocket for down payments.
There is no.
It will be structured with the loan.
Correct.
Right. And the time will be stretched out to 30 years again.
Correct.
If it is 30 years, right?
Right.
And your payment will come down. So if it was $5,000, it should come down to $4,000, meaning it has to really tangibly benefit you.
You have to take a couple $100 a month to make it work.
Yeah, at least $500. It has to go down.
Right.
Right? So yeah, the loan amount changed, the timing stretched, your payment came down.
Correct.
And you didn't pay out of money, pocket, anything.
Correct.
Right? People, আপনারা যারা শুনছেন সবাই, this is how refinancing works. But it will only work if you make correct decision at the right time, not necessarily right time. You make good plan. You patient, and you have a plan. Your tax filing is in place. Your credit score is in place. Right?
Look, I would tell everyone this, right? Since we really don't know where interest rates are going to go, right?
Correct.
Especially for the self-employed borrowers, my suggestion is every year put it on extension until you refinance.
Right.
Okay? Because that gives you that opportunity, that gives you that extra time frame. If there's, if the rates come down, say in September, you can take advantage of that. But you never know when it's going to be.
Right.
Right?
Yeah,
if
you never know.
Time the market, we'll all be trillionaires.
You
right?
can time the market.
It's impossible.
Right. I mean, I had a couple of weeks ago, a show trying to explain the same thing. If you're trying to time the market, usually when it starts going down, it takes about 4 or 5 years.
Look, so the best way to say it is this. Look, if I could time the market, the billionaires would call me for financial advice.
Yeah.
Right?
And you'll be Elon Musk.
Exactly.
Or maybe Warren Buffett.
I would. There you go.
But we're not.
But
so we don't try to time the market.
You're not going to be able to time the market.
Correct.
Almost nobody can do it.
Right. It's making preparation, making plans.
You could only base it on good advice and look, as a broad, I think last time we're talking about it, like what do we do with the tariffs and how do we invest?
Correct.
Right? Use historicals, right? History. History repeats itself, right? You're never going to be able to, okay, I'm going to get rock bottom. You may get it here,
but not at the bottom, rock bottom. It's not possible.
Yes, correct.
Even in this downturn of this stock market, some people will make a lot of money.
Correct. During recessions and all stuff like that, the people who have the money on the sidelines make the most money. Because
recessions makes money.
Right.
If you,
for the people who have money, during recessions, a lot of people are really hurting, right?
Yeah.
They're really hurting. But the people who actually are making money during recessions, they're making even more money.
Right.
Because they're buying in the market even lower.
Correct. And history speaks for itself. You can go back to Napoleon era, how Rothschilds made money from the stock market. When the news was England may lose that war, and he starts selling all because he had the news that England is going to win and Napoleon is going to lose. So he started selling, and the market thought it's going to crash. Everybody else started selling. By the end of the day, he started buying, and the next day the news was Napoleon lost. At that time, during 16th century, 7th centuries, he made $250 million.
But look how many years that is, right?
Yeah.
Look how many years ago, and we're still doing the same thing now.
Yeah. So strategy and information. Information is power.
Exactly.
You have to stay on top of it.
I always say that's the most important asset in the world.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. All right. So that brings us to stock market. You just led me to this. Okay. During this time, during last few months, 2 months, especially 2-3 months, a lot of people who were hopeful when Trump was inaugurated and then stock market is going to jump, it did jump and then start sinking. They lost a lot of money.
Correct.
Now it's stabilized because he put a 90 days hold, pause. Regardless, the market is stable now. So people who lost money, what would be your advice to them? And people who are on the sideline and waiting for taking advantage of this market, has that time passed, or do they still have a chance?
I think anybody who sells money on the sidelines, there's going to be opportunities. You guys could always do what they call dollar cost averaging, which is like buying every week, buying. So you're actually getting the entire average, which is probably the best play for the people on the sidelines. Right. But again, there's going to be opportunities coming up, right? He always talks about something.
Correct. Yeah. It goes up and down whenever he talks.
When he talks. So that's what I'm saying to you. There's going to be opportunities.
Yes.
Without doubt. But getting that exact opportunity you think you're going to make a fortune like crypto?
No, that's not going to happen. You have to be very disciplined, very strategic, and take chances at the right time.
I would stay out of the crypto market.
No. Crypto, I would not touch it. You're going to get burned. There's no question about this. People who lost money, what would be your suggestion?
So look, let's talk about taxes. Like, okay, I lost money, and I always ask my clients, like, what about Robin? What about this? What about that? And they're like, oh, but I lost. It's good for your tax return. Why? Say I lost $100,000. I can still write off $3,000 a year, right? And then say, oh, it's going to take me 20 years to recoup that, right? But the thing is, if I make $100,000 the next year, you don't pay any taxes because it eats it up. Well, think about it. Take $100,000 and I'm putting in jelly beans in a jar, right? And so I make all this money.
Right.
I can use my losses that carry over every year to not pay taxes on the next $100,000. It eats itself.
Okay. That brings me to, I think it needs more discussion, but when we talk about the other discussion that we just talked about, the refinancing and money market, we will also touch the stock market. Yeah,
because I think a lot of people don't understand this, and they don't realize that's why even when we have new clients come in every year, I try to get their old tax returns because I want to compile.
Just to get a feel.
No, I want to get all their losses. So when they do make money, they won't pay any taxes in the future.
Right. This requires time. This requires time to invest into this.
Yeah, it's also like know thy client.
Yeah. Well, that's your strategy, that I need to know this person and his history. So therefore you're investing time.
Correct.
And how seldom do we see it? when you go to somebody else who doesn't have that insight and don't even care.
That's where the mistakes are made.
Right? So, and that's where mistakes are made. And this is when you're doomed, right? You may get a hefty return, and then you set up yourself for a disaster coming days.
Forward.
Right. It's possible. All right. New York State is giving out money.
It's always giving out money.
$150 to $400, depending on who you are, your income level. Who are these people?
So look,
and how do you qualify?
It came down. Recent news came down to like 8.2 million from 8.6, right? But it's basically, so say you're a joint filer, right? I make less than $150,000. I'm getting that $400, right? But say I make more than 150, but less than 300, right? So then I'm getting $300 for joint filers. So it's married filing jointly, right? Say I'm single, head of household, right? That's where like it's kind of hard. If I'm single, I make more than $75,000, right? Then if I make less than 150, right? So then I'm getting that little chunk of change, which is like $150.
Yeah.
But say I am single, but I make less than 75.
Right.
Right. Then I get $200, right? So that's the nice piece of it.
Got it. Okay. When should they?
So we don't have to do anything. There's nothing to do. They're using the tax returns that were filed to send out this money.
So there's nothing to do. If you qualify, you get that check.
Exactly.
By mail.
That's why they're doing, why like last week it was 8.6 million.
Right.
They just recently said, oh no, it's 8.2 million.
Right.
Because more people filed, right?
Right. Okay. Sticky point. And really necessary for a lot, but others may think, it doesn't matter. But I want you to help out some people. There are a lot of people who are undocumented, file taxes, and now they're worried that ICE may come knocking on their door. Because of this, that's one reason they're worried, and the other party is haven't filed taxes. Because what if ICE and actually, by filing taxes, am I inviting ICE?
Right.
I don't want to take that risk, right? So you are an expert advisor, accountant. What would be your advice to those people?
So look, the craziest part about this thing is undocumented provide $100 billion a year in revenue to the United States government, right? And these people have been paying for all these years. And now the government's turned on them, right? So they say, what should I do, right? So if you read all the documents, a lot of it's been redacted where you can't tell you what the exact procedures are.
Right.
But the idea is that there are some safeguards in place right now.
There are some safeguards.
There are some safeguards. We don't know what they are. The privacy laws still exist. But what they're saying is, hey, they're saying ICE is only going to the IRS and saying, hey, listen, we think these people broke immigration laws. We want to know where they are, where they filed. Right?
Correct.
What's their information? What's this? What's that? What's that?
Right.
To basically locate them, right?
Yeah.
Right? There are ways around this, and there's ways that you guys don't need to be scared about this.
So you're saying there is a workaround?
There's definitely a workaround with this. There's a way to mitigate this risk for you guys.
Right.
But at the same time, look, I wouldn't stop paying taxes, okay?
Right.
Because then you definitely violate whole laws.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And that's the problem. They're saying, hey, listen, if this stays enacted, the government will lose $300 million over the next couple of years.
Do you know how much I was actually looking at? Because I got curious. I was looking at, and some people are going to say, why you are listening to this guy? I was listening to Steve Bannon. Sometimes I do. You have to listen all the sides. So the undocumented people, Elon Musk was saying the Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. Because you're paying it now to get it later. And this money actually partly comes from the IRS income, right? And I was looking at yearly contribution from the undocumented people to the economy. And remember, they will not get any benefit, right? It's $25 billion.
Oh, it's insane.
It's insane.
It's craziness what's going on.
So they should do something about this.
Right. So, but I'm saying to you is right. Correct. Look, most of it's going to be a scare tactic, and basically ICE has to come up with the names first.
Yeah.
They can't just go search for the database and say, okay, this is
knock everybody's door.
No.
Right.
They have to have somehow. They have to have your information.
Coming back to your question, there is a way.
There's a way. And there's a way to mitigate the risk.
Okay. All right. Got it. Now, in coming days, we'll talk because there are two parts of it attached to it. One is if that money goes to a bank account and the bank account had an address, that's one loophole. And then if your tax filing has that address, also a loophole. So
But again, there's a way to mitigate.
There's a way to mitigate that. I just wanted to put it out there.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. No, but it's going to help a lot of people.
I don't want to be scared about this. I want everyone to know, hey, listen, there's a way to do this smartly, to still and not violate anything.
Somebody's asking why the CPA office is closed today.
Because I had a real estate closing.
They don't open on Fridays now. They do open on. They are open on Fridays. I know that. So what happened?
No, I was at a real estate closing.
Oh, the real estate closing. So they had a busy day. They made a tons of money, and that's why they were not open. They were actually at client sites. Okay, so SBA hardship, really quick. We got 2 minutes.
So, as everyone's been hearing the bad news, right? The person who's the head of SBA, she canceled all the SBA hardships as of mid-March, right? We have some stuff going on. We're trying to see if there's a loophole. Again, guys, give me a couple of weeks. We'll give you an update. We'll see if this is successul. Maybe we have some good news.
So as of March 18, you got to go back to...
No hardship renewals. If you're still in hardship, you'll finish up your original hardship, but you can't renew it.
No renewal.
No renewal.
And then start paying the regular
But again, we're working on something, so we're going to see if there's a way through.
So hopefully our next program will have...
I hope.
I think our next one is going to be very, very important for people who are really thinking, how do I actually safeguard myself, good investment strategy, and how do I do these things, including SBAs and all these things.
So what, 3-hour program?
Maybe. Who knows? Late filing.
So look, guys, whoever hasn't filed their taxes, haven't done extension, look, you got the first 30 days is like the minimum, right? That's the best time to say, oops, and file it. And there are ways we can abate the penalties and stuff like that. But don't wait any more than the first 30 days, right? So that would give us basically to May 15th for personal files. If you haven't filed and you need to file, we should do it immediately.
Extension.
It's over. Too late.
It's too late.
Too late.
So what do you do now?
I'm saying in the first 30 days, there's ways for us to get minimize
the first 30 days from now on, or
so from April 15th
April
to May 15th is the best time.
Okay, so the May 15th is the best time. If you even haven't filed it, and you're going to be slapped with the taxes and penalties.
You're going to be slapped with failure to pay, failure to file.
Yeah.
Again, those penalties can be abated.
So you still have time till May 15th to adjust that. There's a way to minimize that. To minimize that. Okay. Any last piece of advice for people who are listening?
Yeah. Look, everyone who's watching, look, if you haven't got your tax refund, right, you got some letters, don't freak out. Look, this tax season isn't that crazy. We have been able to figure our way through it. So if you haven't been able to use your current tax person to get through it, look, in a couple weeks, just call our office and we'll try to help you out.
Okay. So with that, we're going to end the program today. Thank you, Michael, for coming and sharing your expertise. We're going to have this in coming days. We will have those preparation done beforehand. Maybe we do some interactive displays and stuff like that, so that it helps them understand. I think I'm going to set up something like this. Yes. So আপনারা যারা এতক্ষণ অনুষ্ঠানটি দেখছিলেন, আশা করি অনুষ্ঠানটি ভালো লেগেছে। ভালো লাগলে অন্যদের সাথে শেয়ার করতে ভুলবেন না। যেখানে থাকবেন ভালো থাকবেন, সুস্থ থাকবেন, নিরাপদে থাকবেন। TVN 24 এর সাথে দেখা হবে পরবর্তী অনুষ্ঠানে। শুভরাত্রি।
TVN 24 টেলিভিশন দেখতে আজই কল করুন 7187776556। লগ ইন করুন www.totalcableBD.com।
নিউ ইয়র্ক থেকে সম্প্রচারিত TVN 24 টেলিভিশন বিশ্বজুড়ে বাঙালির কণ্ঠস্বর।